And what's particularly striking to me about Eileen Chang is how aware she is of herself as a writer.
Yeah.
And I think this is also something you see very much also in Lu Xun, the Diary of a Madman. There's a lot about writing, or the importance of the imperial exams we were talking about in the story of AQ.
Right.
And also with this, there's a kind of satiric aspect and a kind of ironic distance. We're seeing a fiction. We're seeing people making things up.
So where do you see this theme of writing
Appears in
surface?
all kinds of ironic places. In the sealed off story, our hero, if you can even use the word, is carrying this steamed buns wrapped inside newspaper, and the print starts to transfer off onto the bun, so he's actually reading his bun, right, to see what's going on.
It sounds like something out of Joyce's Ulysses.
Very
where
similar to that, exactly. And I think even the Chinese buns inside the newspaper, a perfect image for this culture in transition, right? You've got the traditional food inside this now Western-style newspaper.
Right. And so that's one instance of writing becoming a very material phenomenon.
And very much as local as Eileen Chang is, and most of her stories are set just in two cities, Shanghai and Hong Kong, in a very tight focus. She's also aware of this. This is a place that encapsulates the whole world. Very much as we'll see a strategy also in Orhan Pamuk's Istanbul, I think. She is really, you could say, one of these people figuring out how to be a global writer from a very particular peripheral location. It's peripheral to the rest of mainland China, peripheral politically, peripheral to the world system, which she's very much aware of. There's a great moment in the sealed off story when she says that life was like the Bible, translated from Hebrew to Greek, from Greek to Latin, from Latin to English, from English to Mandarin Chinese. When Kuyan read it, she translated the Mandarin into Shanghainese. Some things did not come through. It's wonderful. This is life. It is like this multiple translation of a translation of a translation of a translation, which you then translate into your own personal dialect while you're reading it in the standard Mandarin.
Right.
It's just absolutely wonderful.
It is wonderful, and you say it's peripheral to mainland China, but it is much more closely connected to the rest of the world precisely because of these multiplicities and because both Shanghai and Hong Kong had been these international trading cities for so long.
That's right.
It seems to me.
And with a very sharp eye towards both food, what are they eating, and also what are they wearing. You have in a number of her stories, the Chongzam is very important, which is really being marketed at that time in Shanghai for kind of a westernized Chinese elite. So it's a combination between French fashion and traditional Chinese fashion, and she's so aware of this. Even the very name Changzam, we get in a translation from Hong Kong tailors. It's actually a Cantonese adaptation of a Mandarin term. You'll see, the size of the collar is now a Western style. These kinds of things, very, very subtle.
And then she, of course, moves to America in the end, and then she herself makes this cultural transition with some difficulties.
That's right. And with the story Last Caution, she's rewriting it actually first in Chinese, then in English, never publishes the English version. After decades, she finally finishes it. So it's a fraught thing. But I think it's also interesting when she goes to Hollywood, she marries a script writer. I think she was always very cinematic. Movies appear in a number of her movie sets, theaters appear. And you very much have a kind of a strongly visual sensibility, which I think is one of the reasons her works translate so well. We are really brought into this world, we see it. And Love in a Fallen City, a lot of it is like chiaroscuro, a very clear sense of what the cinematography would have to be. A lot of darkness, a lot of glinting of things, and sort of it's shifting also between black and white and color. She's very much in control of color in a very cinematic kind of way.
I like that point that translates well and that accounts for her success now as a world author in English and other translations.
I think so. And also that there's this brilliant dialogue that's very modern feel to it. There's a great moment of the kind of banter in Love in a Fallen City with the hero and heroine, if you can use those words for such ambiguous characters. He's trying to seduce her without admitting he's doing it. He doesn't really want to get married to her. She's trying to get him to marry her without admitting that, all of this. And the whole staging of it, Liu Shu, our heroine, gave him a sideways glance. You think you're different from other people. It seems to me you're just as selfish. Selfish? How? To herself she thought, your idea of the perfect woman is someone who's pure and high-minded, but still ready to flirt. She leaned her head to one side and said, "You want me to be good in front of others, but bad when I'm with you." Liu Yan thought for a moment. "I don't understand." Liu Su explained again, and now she says the opposite. "You want me to be bad to others, but good only to you." He's now completely in circles. She's running circles around this guy. And he says, "Now you've turned it around again. You're just making me more confused." He was silent for a while, then said, "What you're saying isn't so." Liu Su laughed. "Ah, so now you understand." It's the most wonderful moment. I mean, Tolstoy on a good day could write such perfect, and he could, but it really is, extraordinary mastery.
It also reflects her own experience of diplomacy, of
yes, negotiation, essentially hostile. You're having to cohabit with someone who's sort of invaded your space, whether it is Japanese occupiers, whether it is French concession in Shanghai. You have to sort of maintain a kind of politesse, and you have to maneuver, and as she does with great success, thanks to the destruction going on in Hong Kong with the war.
Yeah.
You can even go back to the kind of satire of Candide. Here it's the wartime bombardment is like the earthquake in Lisbon. The city is being destroyed.
Yeah.
And how do you survive? How do you find your way, especially as a woman in a marginal position? I think particularly the ending of Love in the Fallen City reminds me of nothing so much as Cunegonde in Candide. Finally, they get married, and again, it's the military metaphor. Hong Kong's defeat had brought her victory, we're told at the end. But in this unreasonable world, who can distinguish cause from effect? Who knows which is which? Did a great city fall so that she could be vindicated? Countless thousands of people dead. It's like the best of all possible worlds, right? Countless thousands of people suffering after an earth-shaking revolution. It's virtually the earthquake in Lisbon. Liu Su didn't feel anything subtle about her place in history. It's a not subtle world, and then there's a most subtle moment of observation. She stood up, smiling, and kicked the pan of mosquito-repellent incense under the table. Just the most wonderful moment. She is a survivor, like the old woman, like Cunegonde, and she smiles even though she knows this kind of ironic success in the midst of failure. It's just a perfect assessment of this extraordinarily tumultuous and ambiguous time.